a diffuse axonal injury to the brain as a result of rapid rotational movements is basically discussed under the rotational trauma. So it can be a fall, it can be a road traffic accident, which can contribute to these type of rotational traumas. Rotational trauma can be a part of basically not only the head injuries, but it can also include the spinal cord, and the whole vertebral column is involved in these rotational trauma. So it's basically all correlated to these heavy rotational movements that occur during any type of exercise. Now, basically, we are going to discuss the basilovertebral artery injury under this section. That is the highlight for this section. And after that, we'll be discussing the autopsy appearances and the mechanism of the vertebral artery trauma. So basically, we are focusing on only the vertebral artery after the rotational movements have occurred. The head injuries in the boxers and some sport athletes are basically also a result of heavy rotational movements that occur during their sports activities. And that is basically a part of this rotational trauma. And it is very important because some sort of deaths even occur after these injuries have occurred to the vertebral arteries, and to the basovertebral artery injury have occurred in such conditions. So we're going to discuss them in detail in this third section. Coming to the basilovertebral artery. So basically, it is a CT angiogram that is sometimes done in patients just to see the patency of the basilovertebral artery, whether it is patent or not. And this angiogram is basically, it's just similar to the angiogram done for the heart, just to see the patency of the vessels and the vasculature present over there. So it is some sort of similarity, it has some sort of similarity over here. And here you can see some sulci is showing a little translucency. So this translucency is basically going to highlight that there is some sort of problem, or there's some sort of a thrombus forming activity which is present over here. So these are basically the different imaging techniques that we imply upon whenever we're going to see the patency of the basilovertebral artery. Now, this is a general forensic anatomy diagram that we are going to discuss over here. So this is basically the path of the basilovertebral artery. As you can see, these are the cervical vertebrae, C1 to C7, and the basilovertebral artery is basically has a circumflex pathway through these 7 vertebrae, and then it is going to meet the subclavian artery at the end of the first thoracic vertebra. So this is basically the anatomy and the points basically that we're going to keep in our mind. What is the path of this basilovertebral artery, and what kind of a trauma can affect this artery according to its location. The most vulnerable area for this basilovertebral artery is this that is lying near to the C1. So the foramina in the transverse processes that you can see over here, they can also be damaged, and this damage can even affect the basilovertebral artery over here. So as we have to focus on, this is the most vulnerable part, and any trauma to this part that is involving the C1 or C2 area can readily affect the basilovertebral artery. The autopsy appearances. Now, again, if we see an autopsy, the possibility arises with an external bruise. So a bruise will give a suspicion that there is some sort of damage internally as well. The area below the ear is involved, most common site of injury and most vulnerable as well. If no external sign, but subcutaneous or deep bruises are present in this case. Now, the mechanism of the vertebral artery trauma, it is very important and is the mainstay over here. It is not fully understood over here, but the vertebral artery is damaged either in canal within the first cervical vertebra, just below the axis in space between the transverse processes of the axis and the atlas. These are basically the most prone areas which can be detected as it emerges from the exit of the canals in the atlas to penetrate the spinal dura just below the foramen magnum. So basically we have to keep this in our mind that these are the ranges that it can offer according to the trauma. Within the subarachnoid space above the foramen magnum or even higher, there is a space that can allow this vertebral artery trauma. So all of these causes we have to keep in our mind, whether it is the foramen magnum, the atlas axis space, or the first cervical vertebra. It is the most prone area, the first cervical vertebra, that is basically going to cause a damage to the basilovertebral artery. Now, the autopsy demonstration of the basilovertebral artery damage, again, we are going to rely upon the CTs and the MRIs done post-mortemly upon the autopsy demonstration, and most post-mortem computed tomography and angiography is done. Radiographs of the upper cervical region, both anterior-posteriorly and laterally, they are performed. The head injuries in the boxers and the contact sport athletes, they're again the mainstay over here. As we were already talking about the rotational injuries, and here we have focused on the rotational injury, which is mainly focusing on the cervical vertebra, because we are talking about the damage to the basilovertebral artery, and it has its pathway around the cervical vertebra, C1 to C7, or to the upper portions of the first thoracic vertebra. That's it. So basically trauma, whether it is a road traffic accident, it can also relate to these basilovertebral artery damages. And then there are certain sports which can also relate to these traumas, these head injuries in the boxers and the contact sports athletes. So even we have to consider these in our mind, that even these people can also be prone to these basilovertebral artery damages. The risk of the acute and the chronic damage is more over here. Then there is a punch drunk syndrome. What is a punch drunk? How do you define it? It's basically the symptoms that occur after a heavy punch to these areas, to the cervical areas, and even to the cerebral areas. And then there is a drunk syndrome, which is not a part of the trauma, but it is a usual, the symptoms are a usual part and parcel of the drunkard person. For example, they'll feel dizziness, they'll have an altered gait, and they'll have a slurred speech. So all of these symptoms are part of this punch drunk syndrome that can occur in drunkard people, as well as they can occur after a heavy punch or a blow to the face. Now, the anatomical and microscopic lesions are also very important over here. And the grossly affected brain that we see over here is the cortical atrophy and slight hydrocephalus. The septum pellucidum is perforated in these cases. The enlargement of the cavum pellucidum is seen, and the tearing of the septal leaves. The fornix and the corpus callosum are thinned out, or they are toned out in such cases. And then there are glial scars, which are seen in these boxers or in the athletes. The neurons are lost from the cerebellum and in the substantia nigra. So these are the symptoms, these are the grossly affected brain signs that we are going to observe in the CTs and the MRIs. So in this section, basically, we dealt with the rotational trauma. That is basically heavy rotational movements that is causing the cervical trauma or the trauma to the basilovertebral artery, and what forensic implications it have. So that was the end to this section. Thank you for watching sqadia.com.